It's become evident the virus has reached every corner of the world and has spread so quickly that the only way we can truly return to normalcy is with a treatment or even a cure. Joining us now to tell us where we stand on that front is Dr. Dean Fanelli, an expert on pharmaceutical and chemical-related technology. So, Doctor, I appreciate you coming on tonight at a very important time because we are getting some developments about a possible vaccine that may be on the horizon. So when it comes to that, what are the developments on that front?
Yeah, thank you for having me. There are about 150 so candidates that are in development right now. Of those candidates, about 3 dozen are in clinical trials, which means they're being tested in human beings. Now, there are 4 that are entering phase 3, which is the critical phase where we'll really see if these candidates generate an immune response.
And of course, this is an expedited process, acknowledging how dire this situation really is. I mean, usually vaccines, we're talking about almost 10 years in order to get there. And this is something that we're hoping that we get there in the span of 1 year. That's what a lot of public health officials are saying, but even they are a little skeptical. But we are getting some positive news that the U.S. government is investing money into Pfizer. They believe that they have a promising development on the way. How does that rollout look like? Say, for example, they were to find a vaccine in the stage that you're talking about. They find that it's okay for humans. What does that rollout look like?
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, you figure we have 300 million people here, 7 billion in the world, so it's going to be a mammoth job to roll that out. The U.S. President Trump initiated Operation Warp Speed earlier this year that will allow certain companies to devote vaccine candidates to the U.S. Particularly AstraZeneca has promised to have 2 billion of the vaccine units of the vaccine available by 2021. 300 million of those will be available to the U.S.
And even when we're talking about the Pfizer vaccine, which once again, it's still in the studies right now, we don't have a definitive answer on that just yet, but the U.S. is pouring in almost $2 billion for 100 million doses. So that's kind of putting an emphasis on how much they want to get this out, how quickly they want to make sure that they can get this out, because that money hopefully then does turn back to people returning back to work, restaurants. It gets the economy going once again. That's the hope of at least government officials on this front. But for the time being, the conversation is not so much about a cure as it is treatments. We've heard things about hydroxychloroquine, remdesivir. There's been a number of different things that people say could help to kind of combat the stages of coronavirus before it gets to a fatal point. Is that still where we are? Are those things still kind of up for debate?
Yeah, so remdesivir has certainly been shown to be promising in subjects that are in the hospital receiving oxygen on ventilation. But hydroxychloroquine, its emergency use authorization has been revoked. So I would say that's not really available anymore. Until we get a vaccine, we're really all in the same boat. And that's really what we need to get back to normal.
And when it comes to hydroxychloroquine, too, I mean, it's something that it depends on basically whenever I check the news, there seems to be a study going one way or the other. I know at the very early days they were saying that it is not a good treatment when you have coronavirus, but it may be something that is more of a preventative measure, something like that. Is that still kind of where this debate lies, that there's no consensus really on the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine, or are there examples where it is effective?
Yeah, only anecdotal evidence. I mean, a clinical trial was run on hydroxychloroquine, and it was shown that it was not clinically effective. So the science just isn't there, unfortunately.
And that's what we hear from several public health officials, too. Of course, that is even divided to some degree. I mean, it was just about 2 weeks ago where there was a study coming out that's saying possibly this could be a treatment of some sort. But for public health officials, they want to be sure about something before they really want to follow through on it. And that seems to be the case with a potential cure as well. So do we need a vaccine in order to return back to the normalcy that people say, in order for people to feel confident going back to work, going back to restaurants, movie theaters, whatever it may be?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, until we have a vaccine, our best weapons are, covering your face, and social distancing. So until we get a vaccine, that's really where we are, and we're not going to be able to return to normal until we have that vaccine.
And it seems like the Trump administration is starting to see that as well. We saw President Trump at the beginning of this week tweet out a message saying that some say that it's patriotic for individuals to wear a mask. And of course, this comes as the White House has also said that he's never been against masks per se, but he wants the individual to make up that choice. And those on the left are saying that there maybe should be a mandate, saying individuals should have to wear a mask in public the same way that you and I have to wear seatbelts, for example, while driving on the highway. So that's really the debate that's taking place. But there are some positive developments when it comes to a vaccine or at least a cure for the time being when it comes to the coronavirus. But Dr. Dean Fanelli, I really appreciate you coming on, breaking down where we stand in that effort. Thank you.